Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports. And just because most of the country is in August mode doesn't mean there isn't major political news happening right now. And what is it? Well, it's nothing out of the Republican Congress because they're in a massive recess right now. A lot of positive Trump news, but really, in my opinion, the biggest story is the beginning of what potentially is a cold civil war between Republicans and Democrats because Congress isn't competing on competence, on legislative output, on governing. It looks like right now, November 2026 is going to be decided by a whole bunch of state legislatures tweaking the rules and out electioneering each other. And that's probably not the best thing for a representative democracy. But we have fresh new polling about that topic. And this is a cautionary tale for Republicans. I really hope a couple of Republican lawmakers watch this. I'll probably send it to a few. My advice to them is this is not the right way to win. This is not the win you think it is. And of course, it's Texas, it's Florida, it's state legislatures picking up the slack for the Republican Congress that, by most measures, has probably been one of the least effective in recent memory, to be honest with you. But here's the congressional calendar. And again, I guess the progress bar for the August recess is at about 60% right now. Congress is back in session on September 2nd. There are 50 days of legislative session back, and probably, I guess, all that time will be sucked up by one big massive bill that they're going to negotiate behind closed doors, another Washington, D.C. monstrosity, and not what I've been calling for, which is popular one-page bills. Get rid of the 60-vote filibuster limit in the Senate. You know the Democrats are going to do it the first chance they need it. Get rid of that limit, and every week from now to November, pass a popular one-page bill. All of those things that have 70, 80% approval rating, we can supply a list. Start with voter ID. Beat the Democrats to it. And listen, if the Republicans aren't going to do it, my advice for Democrats when you win control of the House and Senate is to do the same thing. Wouldn't that be hilarious if the Democrats actually pushed through a voter ID law that the Republicans had to vote for? That would be pretty wild if Donald Trump signed that and Democrats delivered the country voter ID. Americans really want it. And so if the Republicans aren't going to do it, seriously. But, anyways, what we're going to talk about is the redistricting. And here's the current status of where we are in Texas. Out of the New York Times, Texas Democrats end walkout, allowing the redrawn map to pass. And yeah, most of them returned to the state yesterday, August 18th. And in the grand scheme of things, all it did was just delay this process for really about 2 weeks because already there's another special legislative session in Texas declared by Governor Abbott. And so they're just going to proceed. And so basically what's happening is it's becoming a smash mouth fight between red states and blue states. And, seriously, good for the Republicans for fighting. This would probably be a better plan B, though. Wouldn't it be better to just govern? America knows you had a mandate, and the ratings for the 119th Congress have not been very good. Remember, only 38% of Trump 2024 voters have a very favorable impression of the Republican Party right now, and 60% of Republicans agree that the Republican Congress is not delivering on Trump's mandate, and that is not where you want to be, especially with Republicans down 4 points on the generic ballot as of a month ago. But here are the 5 GOP House seats that could be wiped out with Newsom's California redistricting plan. This would completely cancel out, in my understanding, what Governor Abbott and the Republicans are doing in Texas. And then, so what's going to happen now? You have another red state that's going to redistrict, and then you're going to have another blue state redistrict. It's unbelievable. This is not a representative democracy. This is not how it's supposed to work. Legislators are not supposed to pick their voters. Voters are supposed to pick the legislators. California Democrats would gain 5 more seats under the proposed map that targets Republican districts. California Governor Gavin Newsom and his fellow state Democrats are threatening a redistricting plan that would eliminate more than half of the current GOP-held congressional districts amid a nationwide battle over gerrymandering. And already, the Democrat seats overrepresent the number of Democrat voters in California by a pretty wide margin. Republicans currently hold 9 seats in California compared to the Democrats' 43%. Under Newsom's proposed plan, Democrats would pick up 5 more seats. Say goodbye to Representative Doug LaMalfa, District 1. Say goodbye to Representative Kevin Kiley, District 3. I bet you most of these guys, though, are probably Kevin McCarthy dudes. Say goodbye to Representative David Valadao, District 22. Say goodbye to Representative Ken Calvert, District 41. And I mean, listen, my understanding is that they have to get rid of the independent redistricting board in California, but if they want to do it, I mean, the Democrats have complete and utter supremacy in California. It's probably going to happen. And there you go. The state's going to get bluer and even worse. But also, I bet you if you look these people up, they'd have pretty low scores. America First Insights probably ranks them, in my opinion, probably D's and F's. Like John Duarte, who lost to Adam Gray, who was an F double minus, the worst scoring Republican in all of the 118th Congress. Seriously, it's great you're applauding Texas for fighting back against Democrat gerrymandering. But voters think Republicans gerrymander more, +5, and think it undermines democracy, +36. So no, I am not happy about the situation. Let's get to the crosstabs. So, hot off the press, how serious of a problem is it when states deliberately draw congressional districts to favor one party? This is today's story. 60% very serious, 23% somewhat serious, for 83%, that is serious. 60% is really high. Remember, only like roughly 35, 40% said it was very important to release the Epstein files. And so Americans are very concerned about this, but not quite at that 94% level of people who say it's important that there not be a two-tiered system of justice. And the older voters are smarter about these political things, much, much, much more concerned. And look at this. Democrats and Republicans pretty equally say it's serious, including independents, completely bipartisan. But the practice of drawing congressional districts to favor one party is sometimes called partisan gerrymandering. Which party is more likely to engage in partisan gerrymandering? Democrats or Republicans, or are they both about equal? And yes, Democrats are winning by 4 points on the generic ballot right now. And yes, Republicans have a very slight 1 point advantage on party favorability. And yes, Republicans are now doing quite a bit worse than they were a year ago on most of the issues, ceding territory to Democrats on very peculiar things now, like election integrity, where Republicans are now not in the positive. Look at this, 38 to 33. America thinks that Republicans gerrymander more than Democrats. And so this is the thing. Somebody on Twitter said, this is basically like the situation where you have a typical NFL fight where somebody punches somebody and then the ref only sees the retaliatory punch. Democrats have gerrymandered a lot of stuff, but voters don't necessarily know that. And so when Republicans come out and heavily redistrict to win an election that they should probably be winning by other means, it's not going to be good for public opinion. And really, it's across the board. Older voters are more politically astute and recognize that Democrats do it more than Republicans. Look at this. I mean, Republicans across the board for voters under 50. And those voters are much more likely to get independent news from the internet and not from network TV news and cable nets. And so that's a pretty wild signal. But Democrats think Republicans do it more, 48% to 29%. So like 30% of Democrats are like, yeah, we do it. We do it more. And it's pretty much the reverse signal with Republicans. But check this one out. In the 2024 elections, Republicans got 45% of the vote in Illinois, hold only 3 of the state's 17 House seats, which is 18% of the total. So 45% of the vote, but 18% of the representation. Does this kind of result undermine American democracy? 57% say yes, only 21% say no. That's a really profound signal, basically roughly 2.5 to 1. Only 21% say no. And so this is not something Americans like. This is very unpopular. Look at the men signal here. It's almost plus 40 here. And across the board, all ages are like, yeah, this is gross. Only 27% of 18 to 29-year-olds say no. Really, no race signal and no party signal. 57% of Democrats say it undermines democracy, 63% of Republicans. And so this is going to be a mudslinging fight where Republicans and Democrats point the finger and say, no, you're doing it. And then the other side says, no, you're doing it. And then what it becomes is an information war where I guess we see, compared to Twitter, compared to MSNBC, which is now MS Now, or Fox News, who's going to have the bigger reach, who's going to convince people, and what are the optics going to be. This is not the way it should be, a lying slugfest. This should be about Americans voting in a new party and getting what they voted for. And that's not what we're looking at right now. Texas plans to redraw its congressional district map to create more districts that favor Republicans, approve or disapprove of the redistricting plan. And predictably, approve and disapprove are pretty close, 46% to 47%. But look at this strong approve to the strong disapprove. Strong approve is down 10 points. And I think that's the effect of the fact that, yes, this is not democratic. People don't like this process. Overall, 74% of Republicans say, yeah, we approve of this, but only 47% strongly approve. As a benchmark, 58% strongly approve of Donald Trump today. But from a Democrat perspective, maybe it's because a lot of them acknowledge Democrats do this. Only 67% disapprove, only 55% strongly. And this is exactly the kind of stuff you're going to see. Look, the independent left-leaning outlet, Speaker Johnson vows to stop California's redistricting push, but ignores Texas doing the same. This isn't about Johnson's legislative agenda, what he's going to do when Congress gets back in session on September 2nd. The difference between what a Democrat and a Republican Congress would look like. This is literally just a fight over both sides, breaking the rules, and there's going to be a whole lot of lies and gaslighting, and we'll be here for you through absolutely all of it. But there are some interesting side effects from this. Gavin Newsom surges in 2028 presidential primary poll. It's not exactly a surge, but it is a pickup. Support for Governor Gavin Newsom as a possible Democrat presidential candidate in 2028 has surged over the past 4 months, a new poll shows. Newsweek tried to contact Newsom for comment after business hours, didn't get a comment. The poll indicates support for the more aggressive position Newsom has taken in standing up to President Donald Trump, particularly over a plan by Republicans in Texas to redraw their state's congressional seat map in the hopes of winning more seats in the midterm elections next year. The battle to become the 2028 presidential election candidate will likely set the new direction for the Democrat Party as it struggles with net favorability. Well, if you look at Quinnipiac, who says 19% favorability for Democrats, again, it's really like 47%. The new poll conducted by Echelon Insights, a respectable polling organization, has Newsom in second place among potential Democrat candidates, with 13% support behind former Vice President Kamala Harris with 26%. Survey was taken just recently, 3.6% margin of error, 1,000 registered voters. Now, there's no link to the poll. I couldn't find it anywhere on Google News. I didn't search that hard, but yeah, no crosstabs to look at. And I guess, Newsweek writes about polls a lot, but they left out some crucial information. They didn't say whether this was all U.S. likely voters or just likely Democrat primary voters. I'm assuming it's the latter because those numbers are kind of close to mine. And the last time we ran it, Kamala Harris was in the 30s and Governor Gavin Newsom was down closer to 10%. And so she is inexorably losing some support from Democrats. She was in the 40s and is now at 26%, according to Echelon, while Gavin Newsom's number ticks up. Now, this article frames it that people are happy with Gavin Newsom being radical and vowing to fight Trump and being super vocal. But what our polling shows is that a strong majority of Democrats actually want the party to be more moderate. And so he's likely consolidating support from other liberal sources. And so now, listen, 13% is nowhere close to 26%, but it's getting closer. Kamala Harris is still the front runner, but she is basically AWOL, and she's losing support. And when she opens her mouth, she'll probably lose more support. Governor Gavin Newsom is a heck of a lot more articulate than she is. And so maybe it's a race with Gavin Newsom versus the Republican frontrunner right now by a 5-1 margin among Republican primary voters, J.D. Vance. And I can tell you that the head-to-head matchups show that J.D. Vance would eke that one out by 2 or 3 points, I think, based on the last time we ran it, which admittedly was a few months ago. Tough to say how this is all affecting Republicans. It's going to be one of those things where, again, we just see weeks and weeks of news and the numbers slide. And I don't know if they'll slide in the Republican direction. Don't know if they're going to slide in the Democrat direction. What we'll probably see is one more generic ballot poll in September or October. We'll do a big one. We'll get over 2,000 likely voters. And then what we're going to see is the state polling, like the Chitterelli race in New Jersey. And what will really dictate November 2026 is what kind of turnout happens in those races when Trump is not on the ballot. There's a lot more things that you would look at than just the generic ballot. And so November 26 is very hard to predict right now. From Trump's numbers perspective, Trump approval was underwater 2 points today. That's not on the chart. Yesterday's -4 is still here. He's basically been range bound for most of August, stuck between -4 and 0. -4 is 1 point better than his low, which was back in April of -5. Is that horrible? No, it's way better than Joe Biden began to do back in August of 2021 when the Afghanistan crisis was playing out and robbing him of his political capital for the rest of his term. And so finally, it looks like Trump's approval rating is diverging from Biden because they have tracked pretty closely. Does that mean that they won't come up with some kind of additional manufactured crisis for Trump? They tried their best with the Epstein crisis, and you could see it had an impact. Trump's numbers did slide, although it could have been Israel, it could have been the big, beautiful bill. He's probably going to continue in a sideways direction. And then we're going to see what happens in the beginning and middle of September when people care a whole lot more about politics than they do in August. But again, there has been a political toll. This also, according to Echelon Insights, as covered by Newsweek, Donald Trump's approval rating goes underwater on every issue. And we've had that as well, at least on the issues we've polled on, and even for things like immigration. It's happened. And that's because people who want all of the illegals gone might say that Trump's not doing it fast enough. That happens. And if they get demoralized about Trump's performance on another issue, let's just say Epstein, it carries over. And are his numbers terrible? No, they're not. But again, this is not where you'd like to be, although nowhere near Biden territory. A little bit of personal coverage, though. Something really positive happened to us, and this is it. Everybody who attacks Rasmussen reports gets proven wrong and dies. 538 kicked us out. 538 is dead. All of those ideological fact checkers at Washington Post, Glenn Kessler, Philip Bump, they all took buyouts. No longer in the industry. Maybe they'll come back, but I don't know. And now MSNBC, the only cable news network to accuse us of colluding with the Trump campaign, which we did not do, is now dead, rebranded to MS Now. And this looks like really some pathetic attempt to create something like an in-flight news channel that nobody's going to watch. This is not primo branding. It looks like their Global Homo art department was told, well, just give us subtle patriotism, not too on the nose. Something with blue so people will trust us more. And here you have it. This is what has happened to MSNBC. Majorly fallen from grace, getting like over 2 million in the prime demo back in 2020, and now getting just absolutely trounced by Fox News at a certain point. I don't know if it's happened yet. They're probably going to cross under Newsmax viewership. And then one more thing I'd like everybody to look at. Thanks for sticking with us this far, but we have a new YouTube channel. We stream, and we will get back to our 2 times a week schedule in the beginning of September. We stream every week, usually 9 o'clock, Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you don't want to catch the whole stream, if you don't want to watch us live, or you don't want to listen to the episode post facto on Spotify, Apple Music, all those things, then you can go to this channel and just get the highlights, the clips. And we had a really good one where Asmund Gold talked about how Donald Trump was the first gamer president. So go over there and check it out. Please subscribe. It's free. It helps us. And if you don't want to see these videos, just subscribe and then don't click on the notification bell. But we would really like for you to do that. We would also really like you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, post a comment, please, so more people can see it. Engagement is what makes these videos go. And I think that you'll agree that there's not a lot of news coverage like this, because we're not just talking about the headlines. We're talking about how the headlines affect our representative democracy. And right now, Voters are not getting very represented by their legislators, and that needs to change if the Republicans are going to win. So again, to Republicans, please do what you were put there to do. Get rid of the stupid rules, push the envelope, and pass popular one-page bills between now and November of 2026. Someday, someone is going to give the voters what they wanted, and that party should be in power for decades if they do it right. This could be your chance. If you've learned something, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Follow us on X at Rasmussen_poll and myself at Honest Pollster. You can watch our videos on YouTube at Rasmussen_poll and Rasmussen_rewind, and on Rumble at Rasmussen Reports. We stream multiple times a week on Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Getter. Thanks for watching.